If you've ever talked to anyone from Chicago, you've probably heard there's nothing better than summer in Chicago, and that's the truth. After a long winter, the city absolutely comes alive once the weather warms up, and the Chicago River and lakefront become very frequented places to walk, run, swim, drink, and boat. Boating on the lake and the river are some of the best summertime activities in Chicago, but what is it like to actually own a boat in Chicago? Today, I went with my boyfriend and his dad to bring their boat from storage into the harbor for the season. So I thought I'd take you along the journey, show you what the process looks like, and talk about boat ownership in Chicago. So let's start at the storage yard. There are two options for off-season storage at this yard. There's inside storage, which is obviously inside of this massive warehouse, and outside storage where they wrap the boats and keep them outside for the winter. This wrapping is basically vacuum sealed once it's on the boat to protect from snow and ice throughout the winter. And my boyfriend's dad opted for exterior storage this year, which is obviously less expensive. And the owner of the boatyard told him that a lot of people who opt to do inside storage do it so that they can make any necessary repairs to their boat during the off season. So that's a good time to do maintenance and repairs if your boat needs it, because it can be worked on without having to battle the elements. Once it's harbor season, the boats come out of storage, the covers come off, and the storage yards will put them in the water for their owners to take the journey to their slips. So for boats like the one that we're on today, it's a pretty simple journey up until you get to the harbor lock, which I will talk about in a little bit, which is where the lake and the river connect. But if you have a sailboat, this journey is going to take a lot longer. Sailboats usually have a meetup time and all go together because they have to journey and wait at each bridge for the bridge to be clear of traffic and pedestrians, and then raise the bridges for them to go through. So while it's really cool as a spectator, as a boater, it takes a while, and we actually blew past a bunch of sailboats waiting for this particular bridge to open, and clearly something was wrong with it because there were people climbing up to inspect it because it was not opening. So that sometimes happens too, which is a huge bummer, but something that you have to contend with if your boat is too big to fit under the bridges. Once your boat finishes the journey along the river, you reach the harbor lock, which is where the river and the lake meet. And obviously, Lake Michigan is huge. So there are dams that keep the lake locked from the river because the river is about 3 feet lower than the lake. So once you get to the lock, the people that work there open the first door very slowly. And then when the light turns green and the doors are fully open, you can proceed into the lock. Then you have to steer your boat over to the ropes and attach them to your boat. Then they close the door to the river and open the door to the lake. And this was my first time doing this, and it was honestly kind of scary seeing all of that water rush into this little area. It was kind of giving me Titanic vibes, and it kind of freaked me out. But again, they open the door a little bit to let the water flow in, and the ropes are basically for you to hold on for dear life so that your boat doesn't get swept away while the water rises. And usually there would be more boats in here. They don't typically do it one at a time, but for some reason we were the only boat that pulled up to the lock, so they let us through. And once they open the gates of the lake all the way, they blow a big horn and you're free to proceed out into the lake and make your way to your harbor. So let's talk about harbor season and the various harbors. So Chicago harbor season is from May 1st to October 31st every year. So that's when they will charge you for your boat slip. There are 10 harbors in Chicago to choose from, and they have space for over 6,000 boats. Every year, the harbors are usually around 95% plus occupied. So you do usually have to go on a wait list to get the spot that you want. This is directly from the Chicago Harbor's website. It says existing slip holders are given priority transfer to other spaces. Thus, we recommend taking the first available spot in the harbors and submitting a transfer for your perfect spot. This is often not at your first harbor of choice, but this route is faster than applying as a new applicant. The Chicago harbors run from Montrose to Jackson Park, and the pricing for docking at the various harbors varies based on location, boat size, and if you're docked in a slip or a can, and if you're a Chicago resident or not. The boat slips are the most expensive option, and they're the most convenient. They have electricity and water installed, and you have walkout access to your boat through a pier, versus if you're docked at a mooring can, you have to take a dinghy to your boat. Mooring cans are the floating buoys that are anchored to the lake bed, and these are only offered at certain harbors in the city. So what's included with the harbor fees? You do have to pay your harbor fee in full at the start of each season, and you get one parking pass included, and then additional passes are available for purchase. There are also various amenities at certain harbors, and that's oftentimes why people will choose one harbor over another. Some also have their own yacht clubs that you can join. The really popular ones are the Chicago Yacht Club and the Columbia Yacht Club. So if you are a member at one of those clubs, you'll probably want to have a spot at one of the harbors nearby. And as you probably guessed, the closer you go to downtown, the more expensive the docks get. So if we look at a 35-foot stall at 59th Street, it's around $3,300 for the season. And at DuSable, it's almost double that. Now let's talk about boat culture in Chicago. As someone who doesn't own a boat, and before I had a boyfriend whose dad had a boat, I can tell you I was always super excited when I would get an invite on someone's boat. Even if you don't go out and you just stay on the boat in the harbor, it's so much fun. You get great views of the city. It's a great place to watch the fireworks. There's fireworks twice a week in Chicago. If there's a concert at Soldier Field and you're on a dock close enough, you can hear the music. It's just a really fun experience. Some of the harbors also have additional activities other than just boating. Some have kayak and paddle rentals. Some have beaches, pools, parks for kids to play in. So there's a lot more than just the actual physical boat aspect of it. And then there's the playpen. I'm going to be honest. I've never been in there, and I don't think I want to go there. It's kind of scary to me, to be honest, because most of the people who are in there are super drunk, and every year someone gets hurt or worse. So I don't think I will be partaking in that, but there are other areas that people will go and group their boats and throw out a lily pad or floaties and float around and hang out, and that is fun. We also have to talk about boat maintenance, but this section is tough because every boat is different. There are different types of boats, different sizes. Some are older, some are brand new. But what I can definitely say about every boat is that it requires maintenance. And again, pricing is going to fluctuate based on how old your boat is and how big it is. But I know, at least hearing from Connor's dad and from another friend of mine whose dad has a boat, they're always doing something. They're always fixing something on the boat. They're always thinking about the boat, thinking about what they need for the boat, and it's got to be done. So in my opinion, it's certainly more of a hands-on hobby or activity. If you're going to get a boat, prepare to spend a lot of time with it and a lot of money for it. And I think that's part of the reason why boat people are like really boat people, is because they put so much time and money into it, they want to get the most out of it. And if you don't think owning one is the right decision for you, you can always do boat rentals either on the river or on the lake every season. There are so many boat rental companies. You can go with a captain or without one, and they're all different types of boats you can rent. So you can always do that if you want to kind of dabble in the boating life without any of the responsibility. If you're a boat person or hoping to become a boat person, I'd love to hear your perspective in the comments about if you think it's worth it or not. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!